The jungle was alive with sound. Birds called from high branches, insects buzzed near the ground, and the air was heavy with the smell of damp earth. Rahul pushed aside a thick curtain of vines, his eyes scanning the rocks ahead. He had been searching this part of the jungle for months, following stories told by villagers who spoke of a hidden place deep in the trees. They called it a cursed passage, a door that should never be opened. To Rahul, it was not a curse but a mystery, one that demanded to be solved. His small team followed close behind. There was Maria, who studied old writings and could read the ancient Mayan script. There was Tomasz, a strong man who carried most of the supplies. And there was Diego, who was skilled at maps and tools. Together they had been walking for days, cutting through wild paths, camping under thick leaves, and listening to the calls of animals in the dark. They were tired but full of hope. Rahul stopped at a cluster of boulders that seemed to form a wall. Something about the shape was unnatural, too smooth for nature alone. He placed his hand on the stone and felt lines carved into it. He pulled out a brush from his pack and swept away layers of dirt. Symbols began to appear, sharp and clear despite the years. Maria stepped forward, her eyes bright with surprise. She bent down and traced one of the carvings with her fingers. "This is Mayan," she whispered. "But these signs are different. They are older, and some of them do not belong to any Mayan text I know. It is mixed with something else." Rahul looked closer. The carvings showed men standing under a sky filled with stars. Strange objects hung above them, shapes that looked like circles with rays of light. He frowned. "What do you think it means?" he asked. Maria shook her head slowly. "It looks like a story of visitors who came from the sky. The Mayans saw them as powerful beings. This wall may be hiding the entrance to something important." The team worked together, clearing vines and stones. After hours of effort, they uncovered a narrow crack in the wall. The opening was dark, and cold air rushed out, carrying the smell of earth long untouched. Tomasz held a torch near it, and the flame flickered wildly as if pushed by unseen breath. Diego knelt and peered inside. "This is no ordinary cave," he said. "Look at the edges. They are cut straight, like a hallway." Rahul felt his heart beat faster. This was it, the place he had searched for. He knew it was dangerous. Legends spoke of people who entered and never returned. But he also knew that discoveries required courage. He turned to his team. "We came here to find the truth. If this is the passage, we must see what lies beyond." Maria looked uneasy but nodded. Tomasz gripped his torch tighter. Diego adjusted his pack and checked his rope. Each of them carried fear, yet none of them wanted to turn back. They entered one by one. The light of the torch pushed back the shadows, revealing walls covered with carvings. More symbols, more strange shapes, some glowing faintly as if painted with a light that never died. Rahul reached out but did not touch. He only looked, his mind racing with questions. The air grew cooler as they walked deeper. Their footsteps echoed against the stone floor. The passage was long and slanted downward, as though it was leading them to the heart of the earth. At times, the torchlight revealed figures drawn in rows, humans kneeling before tall beings with shining eyes. Maria translated what she could. "It says something about a gate to another world. It warns that those who are unprepared should not enter. It speaks of balance, of life and death, of light and darkness." Her words sent a shiver through the group. Yet Rahul pressed forward. He believed that the Mayans had known secrets lost to time. He believed they had built this passage not just as a tomb but as a link to something greater. After what felt like hours, they reached a chamber larger than any they had seen. The ceiling rose high above them, hidden in shadow. The walls curved smoothly, unlike the rough stone outside. In the center was a pool of dark water that reflected the torchlight like a mirror. Around the pool stood stone pillars marked with more glowing signs. Rawl's breath caught in his throat. He felt as if they had stepped into a place not meant for living men, a place that waited patiently through centuries of silence. Maria spoke in a hushed voice. "This is the entrance. This is the Mayan Underworld passage." The group stood together at the edge of the chamber, hearts beating fast, eyes wide with awe and fear. They had uncovered something that could change history. But they also knew they had crossed a line, and from this point, there was no turning back. The jungle above them was far away now. Around them was silence, broken only by the drip of water and the flicker of flame. Rahul raised his torch higher, staring into the darkness beyond the chamber. He knew that what lay ahead would test not just their courage but the very strength of humanity itself. And so, with steady steps, he moved forward into the shadows of the unknown. The torchlight danced on the chamber walls, making the glowing carvings flicker as if alive. Rahul stood still, trying to take in the strange sight. The air was heavy, filled with the smell of stone and water. His team gathered around him, their faces pale but their eyes full of wonder. Maria slowly walked closer to one of the pillars. She touched the carvings with gentle fingers, tracing the lines of old symbols. The glow grew brighter where her hand passed, as if the stone responded to her presence. She stepped back quickly, her heart beating faster. "This is not paint," she said softly. "It is something else, something that has lasted for centuries. It feels alive." Diego leaned forward, studying the shapes. "Some of these are maps," he said. "Look here. This line looks like a river, and this pattern shows mountains. But the rest, I do not know." Maria's eyes followed the marks. She began to whisper translations, her voice trembling. "This says the passage is a bridge between worlds. It warns that only those who understand balance may walk beyond. It says light and shadow are one, and those who do not accept this will lose their way forever." Tomasz frowned, gripping his torch tightly. "Lose their way," he repeated. "That sounds like a warning. Maybe this place was never meant to be opened again." Rahul listened carefully. He felt the weight of Maria's words, but his curiosity was stronger. "Warnings do not always mean danger," he said. "Sometimes they mean protection, or they speak in riddles. We cannot stop here. We must learn more." The chamber echoed with silence after his words. Each of them knew they had a choice, to turn back to the safety of the jungle or to step deeper into mystery. None of them moved toward the exit. Rahul raised his torch and led the way around the pool. On the far side, another passage opened, narrower than the first. The walls here were smoother, almost polished, and the carvings continued in long spirals. The glowing marks lit their path, so even when the torch dimmed, they were never in complete darkness. As they walked, Maria kept reading aloud. "This speaks of guardians who keep the way hidden. It says the gate must not fall into the hands of those who seek only power. It says the world above is not ready for what lies below." Her voice grew lower, as if the stones themselves were listening. Diego looked uneasy. If they sealed it, maybe they had a reason. What if we are breaking something that should remain closed? Rahul shook his head. If the Mayans could build such a place, they wanted it to be found by those who were willing to search. We have come this far. We cannot walk away. The air grew colder as they went deeper. Their breath became visible, curling into white mist. The walls dripped with water, and their footsteps echoed like whispers. Every sound seemed louder than it should be, as if the passage wanted to remind them they were intruders. After some time, they reached another chamber. This one was smaller, but the carvings here were sharper, fresher, as if made only yesterday. At the center stood a flat stone altar, its surface smooth and shining under the torchlight. Around it, more symbols glowed in a circle. Maria stepped forward, reading again. Her voice trembled. This speaks of the travelers from the sky. It says they came with gifts of knowledge. They showed the Mayans how to build, how to count the stars, how to walk between worlds. But it also says these travelers warned that the path could not be used by all. Only those with wisdom, not greed. The words filled the team with silence. Each of them thought of what it meant. Knowledge of the stars, knowledge of worlds beyond. If such things were true, then this passage was not a tomb at all but a bridge to something greater. Rahul placed his hand on the altar. The stone was cold, yet a faint vibration passed through his palm. It was as if the altar itself was humming, a hidden machine waiting to be awakened. Suddenly, the glow around the chamber brightened. The carvings on the walls pulsed like beating hearts. The ground trembled softly, and a low hum echoed through the stone. The team stepped back in shock. Tomash held his torch high. Rahul, what did you do? Rahul pulled his hand away, but the hum did not stop. Instead, the symbols formed lines of light that connected the walls to the altar. Slowly, an image appeared above the stone, floating like smoke made of fire. It showed figures, humans walking through a doorway filled with light. Behind them were tall beings with golden eyes. Maria stared, her lips parting in awe. It is a story, she whispered. They are showing us what happened here. This was the gate. This was how they traveled. The vision faded as quickly as it came, leaving only silence and the dim glow of the carvings. The team stood frozen, unable to speak. What they had just seen was not myth, not carving, but a message from the past, alive in the stone. Raul's eyes burned with determination. Now we know. The Mayans were not alone. They had help, and this passage was their bridge. We must go on. The truth is close. Maria hesitated. Her heart warned her of danger, yet her mind could not resist the call of knowledge. She nodded, though her face was troubled. The team gathered their courage and stepped toward the next passage, knowing each step carried them farther from safety, deeper into a place where the line between legend and reality was fading. The air inside the new passage was heavier, colder, and carried a faint metallic taste. Rahul lifted his torch higher, the flames stretching shadows across the walls. The smooth stone gave way to darker rock, and the glowing carvings continued in long patterns, twisting like rivers of light. Tomash walked close behind, his broad shoulders brushing the walls at times. He muttered under his breath, "This place feels alive, Rahul. Like it is watching us." Diego adjusted the strap of his pack and answered, "It is not alive, Tomash. It is built. Look at the walls. These are not natural. They were cut with tools, with skill far greater than the tools we know from that time. This is no simple cave." Maria was at the back, her eyes moving from symbol to symbol. She read in whispers, words meant more for herself than the others. The lines spoke of trials, of paths that must be walked to prove worth. She shivered but kept going, her heart split between fear and curiosity. The passage slanted downward, each step taking them deeper into the unknown. Drops of water fell from the ceiling and echoed like distant footsteps. The group grew quieter with every step, as though speaking too loudly might wake something sleeping. After what felt like hours, the floor leveled out and the walls widened. Before them opened a vast chamber that seemed untouched by time. The ceiling was high, disappearing into shadow, but faint points of light shone above as if stars had been captured in stone. The air was cooler here, almost fresh, as though it belonged to a place far from the surface. In the center of the chamber stood strange objects half buried in the ground. They looked like machines, but not of any design the explorers knew. Some were tall and thin, like pillars with smooth surfaces that reflected the torchlight. Others were round, with lines carved into their sides, almost like wheels waiting to turn. Raoul stepped closer, his torch lighting the nearest object. He ran his hand over the surface. It was not rough stone but smooth, almost like glass, though it was solid and cold. Dust covered much of it, but beneath the dust, faint lines of light pulsed as if the machine was not dead but only sleeping. Diego's eyes widened. Raoul, this is not Mayan. This is something else. The Mayans could not have made this. Raoul nodded slowly. His heart was racing, but his voice was steady. I think the Mayans did not build this. They found it, and they used it. Maybe it was left here long before. Maria joined them, her face pale in the torchlight. She looked at the glowing symbols on the machine and compared them to the carvings on the walls. Some of these marks match the Mayan writing, but others are not of this world. They are too strange, too advanced. The Mayans must have copied what they saw. As they studied the machines, Tomasz circled the chamber with his torch. His light caught something at the far side, and he froze. Raoul, he called. Come look. The others hurried over. Against the wall was a massive structure, shaped like a door but far larger than any human doorway. It was framed by pillars carved with the same glowing symbols, and at its center was a smooth black surface, like still water standing upright. Maria's voice was barely a whisper. This must be the gate. The one the warnings spoke of. Raoul stared at it, his torchlight reflecting off the dark surface. For a moment, he thought he saw movement within, like shadows passing underwater. He stepped closer, his hand trembling as he reached out. Raoul, wait, Maria said sharply. The writing said only those with balance may pass. We do not know what will happen. Raoul hesitated but did not pull back. If this is the passage, it is the reason we came. We must know what lies beyond. His fingers brushed the black surface. To his shock, it rippled like water, sending waves across the entire gate. The machines around the chamber began to hum softly, their faint lights growing brighter. The ground trembled under their feet, not in anger but in awakening. The explorers staggered, eyes wide with fear and wonder. Diego shouted over the sound. You woke it, Raoul. You woke the whole place. The black surface of the gate shimmered, and for a brief moment, light burst through it, showing glimpses of another world. Strange shapes moved within the glow, tall structures and glowing plants unlike anything of Earth. Then the vision faded, leaving the gate still, though the hum of the machines continued. Maria grabbed Raul's arm. Do you see now, this is not only a tomb or a temple. It is a bridge. But it is dangerous. The warnings were true. This is not for all to use. Raul's eyes were locked on the gate. His heart pounded with excitement. Dangerous or not, we are the first to see this in centuries. We cannot stop. The Mayans closed it, but maybe they also meant for the right people to open it again. Maybe we are those people. Tomasz shook his head, uneasy. Or maybe we are fools walking into a trap. Silence fell as the hum of the machines filled the chamber. Each of them stood torn between fear and wonder, caught at the edge of a choice that could change everything. Rahul raised his torch high, the flame glowing bright against the dark gate. His voice was firm. We go forward. We will see what lies beyond. This is history, and it belongs to humanity. No one answered, but slowly, each of them stepped closer to the gate, their hearts filled with both dread and hope. And so, the hidden passageway revealed its secret, calling them deeper into the unknown. The black surface of the gate rippled softly, like water touched by the wind. The faint hum of the machines echoed through the chamber, steady and deep, as if the place itself was breathing. Rahul stood close, his torch held high, the light reflecting in the dark surface. His team waited behind him, silent, their faces showing both fear and wonder. Rahul reached out again. His fingers pressed against the gate, and once more it shifted under his touch. Waves of light spread outward in perfect circles. The glow brightened, filling the chamber with a strange silver shine. The machines around them hummed louder, and the carvings on the walls pulsed like veins of fire. Maria stepped forward, her voice low but urgent. Rahul, be careful. The writings said this was a bridge, but they also warned it was not for everyone. We do not know what lies beyond. Rahul looked at her, his eyes burning with determination. If the Mayans walked this path, then so can we. They were human like us. Whatever they saw, whatever they built here, it is part of our story too. Tomasz gripped his torch tightly. And if it leads to death, then we will face it, Rahul replied without hesitation. The gate shivered again, and this time the surface opened, no longer a reflection but a window. A tunnel of shimmering light appeared beyond, stretching forward as if inviting them in. For a moment, none of them moved. Then Rahul took the first step, his figure swallowed by the glow. Maria gasped, then followed quickly, not willing to let him go alone. Diego and Tomasz exchanged nervous glances, but the pull of discovery was stronger than fear. Together they stepped into the shining tunnel. The world shifted around them. There was no weight, no air, only light. It felt as if they were falling and floating at the same time, carried by unseen hands. The tunnel bent and stretched, and the glow grew brighter until their eyes burned. Then it ended. They stepped out onto solid ground, their torches still in hand though they were no longer needed. All around them was a strange land glowing with its own light. Tall plants with leaves like crystal rose high above, shining softly as though they captured the stars. Streams of liquid light flowed between the plants, casting reflections across smooth stone paths. The sky above was not sky at all but a vast ceiling of rock, glowing faintly with countless points like stars. It was as if they had stepped into another world hidden beneath the earth. Diego stood frozen, his mouth open in awe. This is impossible. We are underground, but this looks like another world. Maria turned slowly, her eyes wide. The Mayans must have called this the underworld. But it is not death. It is a hidden place, a world within the earth. Raul's heart pounded. He felt both small and powerful, standing in a place no human had seen in centuries. He stepped onto the smooth path, the stone warm beneath his boots. The air here was different, soft and fresh, with a faint sweet smell. His torch flame flickered and died, no longer needed in the glowing land. Tomasz threw his torch aside, unease mixing with awe. We should not be here. This place is not meant for us. Rahul shook his head. It is meant for us. That is why the Mayans built the passage. That is why the gate was hidden. They wanted future generations to find it. They walked together along the stone path, their footsteps echoing softly. Strange sounds filled the air, like distant chimes or the soft hum of wind through glass. The streams of light twisted around them, and within their glow, small shapes moved, creatures that looked like fish, but with bodies that shimmered like gems. The explorers stopped to watch. Maria smiled faintly. Even the smallest life here is beautiful. This place is alive, Rahul. More alive than anything I have ever seen. As they moved deeper, the glowing plants grew taller, forming a forest of crystal towers. Some stretched so high they disappeared into the glowing ceiling. Between them stood structures that looked almost like temples, built of smooth stone with sharp edges. They were silent, but their surfaces glowed with the same symbols as the gate. Rahul stepped closer to one of the structures. The walls were covered in carvings, showing humans standing beside tall beings with golden eyes. The images showed both working together, building, sharing, walking through gates of light. Maria traced the carvings. Her voice trembled. These beings were here. They walked with the Mayans. They must have built this world together. The team stood in silence, staring at the proof before their eyes. The stories of the villagers, the legends of the underworld, the warnings carved in stone, all of it was true. Humanity was not alone. Suddenly, the air shifted. A soft vibration passed through the ground, and a distant sound echoed, like a deep bell ringing. The explorers froze. From the shadows between the crystal plants, shapes began to move. At first they looked like tall shadows, their outlines blurred by the glowing air. Then they stepped closer, and their forms became clear. They were tall figures, their skin pale and shining faintly, their eyes golden like the symbols on the walls. They walked with slow grace, their presence both calm and powerful. Tomasz took a step back, his face pale. They are real. The beings from the carvings. The figures stopped a short distance away. Their golden eyes glowed softly, and though their mouths did not move, a voice echoed in the explorers' minds, clear and calm. You have walked the passage, the voice said. You are children of the world above. You are not the first, but you are the first in many ages. The team stood silent, fear and awe mixing inside them. Rahul stepped forward, his voice steady. We seek knowledge. We seek the truth of what the Mayans found here. The golden-eyed figures watched him closely, their gaze deep and unreadable. Then the voice returned. Then you shall learn. But know this knowledge carries weight. What you choose to do with it will shape not only your world, but ours. The explorers exchanged uneasy glances. They had crossed into a place where legends lived, and now the true test was only beginning. The glowing figures stood tall and silent, their golden eyes watching the explorers with calm patience. Rahul felt a weight in their presence, not of threat but of deep power. The chamber of crystal plants seemed to grow still, as if the entire place waited for what would be spoken. Maria's heart pounded. She stepped beside Rahul, her voice trembling but steady enough to be heard. You are the ones from the carvings. The Mayans knew you. They told stories of you. One of the beings tilted its head, the golden glow of its eyes brightening slightly. A voice echoed in their minds again, soft yet clear. Yes. We came to your people long ago. We walked among them. We taught them to see the stars not as distant fires but as doors, paths across the endless sky. They called us guides, but we were only sharers of knowledge. Diego looked around at the glowing towers and streams. His voice was filled with awe. You built this place. The being answered, We shaped it with the Mayans. Their hands worked the stone, but our tools gave them strength. Together we made this passage, this bridge, so that two worlds could meet. But humans of that time feared what they did not fully understand. Some wished to use the passage for power, others for war. So we withdrew, and the gate was sealed. The explorers listened in silence. Every word struck deep, rewriting the history they thought they knew. The Mayans had not only looked at the stars, they had walked with beings from beyond. Tomasz shifted uneasily, his hand tightening on his torch even though its flame had long died. "If you left, why are you still here?" The being's voice grew softer. "We never left. We stayed hidden, watching, waiting. For centuries we guarded this place, keeping it secret until the time came when humans would return, not in fear, but in search of truth." Rahul felt a surge of pride at those words. His voice carried conviction. "Then we are the ones you waited for. We came not for power, but for discovery. We want to understand, to learn." The golden eyes seemed to glow brighter. "Perhaps. But knowledge is not without cost. Once you see, you cannot unsee. Once you carry truth, you cannot drop it. What you do with it will matter to all your kind." Maria felt the weight of those words. She looked around at the glowing world, at the beings who stood with such calm strength. Her mind raced with questions, but one burned strongest. "Why trust us now? Why open the gate again after so long?" The answer came like a ripple of sound in their minds. "Because your world is changing. The sky is filled with voices once more. Others are watching. Others will come. If humans do not remember their old path, they may be lost when new paths arrive." The explorers exchanged uneasy glances. The meaning was clear: the world above was not alone, and soon it might face forces it did not understand. Diego stepped forward, his voice low. "You are saying that others beyond the stars may come to Earth?" The being's golden eyes turned toward him. "Yes. Not all who walk the sky come in peace. That is why the gate was sealed, to protect your kind from what you were not ready to face." A silence followed, heavy and deep. The explorers felt the truth pressing against them. They had not only uncovered a lost passage but also a warning carried across centuries. Rahul broke the silence. "Then teach us. Show us what the Mayans knew. Help us prepare for what may come." The beings exchanged glances, though none spoke with their mouths. At last, the voice returned. "We can show you what was once shared. But you must promise one thing: that this knowledge will not be used to break, but to build. It must not fall into the hands of those who seek only power." Rahul nodded without hesitation. "I promise." "We all promise." He looked at his team, and though fear flickered in their eyes, they nodded too. The golden-eyed beings turned and began to walk deeper into the glowing forest. Their steps were silent, their forms moving with unearthly grace. Rahul and his team followed, their hearts heavy with both fear and hope. They passed through crystal towers that hummed with energy, past streams of light where strange creatures swam, until they reached a wide clearing. At the center rose a great structure shaped like a pyramid, but unlike any on the surface. Its steps glowed faintly, and its peak shone with a steady light like a star captured on Earth. "This is the heart of the passage," the beings said together, their voices blending as one. "Here the Mayans learned, here they built, and here they chose to seal the gate when they could no longer guard it." The explorers stood in awe. The pyramid pulsed with power, ancient and eternal. Maria whispered, "This is history beyond history." Rahul stepped forward, his voice filled with determination. "Show us what must be seen." We are ready. The beings lifted their golden eyes toward the pyramid. Slowly, its steps began to glow brighter, and the air around it vibrated with energy. The ground hummed beneath their feet, and lines of light spread outward like rivers from its base. The explorers felt their hearts race. They knew that what came next would reveal the true story of the Mayans, the passage, and perhaps even the fate of humanity itself. The beings raised their hands, and the pyramid responded with a beam of light that shot into the glowing ceiling above. The entire hidden world seemed to awaken, as if waiting for this very moment. And so, the forgotten beings began to share their truth. The pyramid pulsed with light, bathing the clearing in a soft golden glow. Rahul and his team stood at its base, their eyes wide with wonder. The golden-eyed beings moved around them, silent and graceful, yet their presence felt heavier than ever. The air vibrated with power, as if the hidden world itself was alive and aware of every heartbeat. Maria stepped closer to Rahul, her voice low. They are not just showing us history. They are testing us. The words they spoke before they were not only warnings. They were instructions. Rahul nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility pressing on him. He looked at the glowing stream of light flowing from the pyramid. It split into many paths, each glowing a different shade. Some paths led deeper into the world, some upward toward the gate, and others twisted into places unknown. Each seemed alive, reacting to their presence. One of the golden-eyed beings approached. Its eyes glowed brighter, and its voice filled their minds. You have seen what was lost and what was found. You have walked the path the Mayans once knew. Now, you must decide. Will you share this knowledge with the world, or will you protect it, keeping it hidden until humanity is ready? The team exchanged uneasy glances. Tomash whispered, if we tell everyone, the world will change forever. People will want power, and they may not understand. They may destroy what we barely found. Diego's brow furrowed. But if we do not tell, we are keeping the truth from everyone. Knowledge belongs to all humans. Can we really decide for them? Maria's voice trembled. The beings said only those with balance may walk here. Maybe that means we must choose not for ourselves, but for everyone else. We must think beyond desire and fear. Rahul closed his eyes. He thought of the jungle above, the people who still believed in myths and stories, and the world waiting for answers. He thought of the golden-eyed beings, of the glowing streams and crystal towers, and of the lessons hidden for centuries. He opened his eyes and spoke slowly. We have seen the truth. We have walked the passage. But humanity is not ready for what lies beyond. If we reveal it now, it could bring chaos. Power would blind people, and fear would guide their actions. We must protect this knowledge, not hide it out of selfishness, but to prepare the world for a future when humans are wise enough to carry it responsibly. Maria nodded, tears forming in her eyes. It is not easy, but it is the right choice. We can document what we have learned for ourselves, but the passage cannot be open to all yet. The golden-eyed being observed them quietly. Its gaze seemed to look through their minds, measuring their intentions. Then it spoke, calm and clear. Your choice is wise. Wisdom is not knowing everything, but knowing when to act. The Mayans learned this long ago. They sealed the gate not to hide, but to protect. Now, you carry their responsibility. Rahul took a deep breath. We will protect it. We will not misuse it. But we will remember it. And we will teach future generations in a way that does not harm them or the world. The beings stepped back, their eyes glowing softly. The pyramid's light dimmed slightly, but the streams of energy continued to flow. The team could feel the power, the responsibility, and the unspoken promise that the knowledge would remain safe as long as they honored it. Tomasz exhaled, relief and tension mixing in his chest. "It is heavy," he admitted. "Carrying something this important. I feel like we are standing on the edge of something greater than ourselves." Maria reached out and held his arm. "We are. But we are not alone. The beings trust us, and that trust gives us strength. We only have to be careful, patient, and wise." Rahul stepped forward, looking toward the gate that had brought them here. "We have learned, and we have chosen. Now it is time to return. Humanity will have its chance when the time is right. For now, we keep the passage safe." The golden-eyed beings moved toward the edges of the clearing. The streams of light slowly withdrew into the pyramid, and the crystal towers dimmed to a gentle glow. The air grew calm, and the hum of power faded to a soft whisper. One of the beings approached Rahul once more. "Remember this moment. You carry the burden of knowledge, but also the hope of humanity. When the world above is ready, the path will open again. Until then, you are guardians." Rahul bowed his head. "We will not fail." With that, the beings stepped back completely. The team turned toward the path that led to the gate. The shimmering tunnel of light awaited, as silent and inviting as it had been when they first arrived. They walked together, careful and deliberate, knowing each step carried the weight of the choice they had made. As they emerged back into the black gate, the hidden world behind them seemed to sigh, the light of the pyramid fading to memory. The passage had revealed its secrets, tested their hearts, and entrusted them with its protection. Rahul looked at his team. "We are part of something greater now. Not because we seek power, but because we choose responsibility. That is what makes us human." Maria smiled faintly, her eyes reflecting both relief and awe. "And that is why the Mayans built this passage, for humans who can rise above fear and desire, and for humans who can choose wisely." Together, they stepped back through the shimmering gate, leaving the underworld passage behind, carrying the weight of knowledge and the promise of future discovery. The jungle above was quiet, peaceful, and familiar. Yet for Rahul and his team, nothing would ever feel ordinary again. They had seen what few humans ever could, and they had made a choice that would shape generations yet to come. The jungle above greeted them with the familiar sound of birds and insects. The sunlight filtered through the dense canopy, warm and bright after the shadows of the passage. Rahul stepped out first, letting the fresh air fill his lungs. He felt lighter and heavier at the same time, lighter because they had survived, and heavier because of the knowledge they carried. Maria followed closely, her eyes scanning the trees but also remembering the glowing world beneath. "It is strange," she said softly. "Above ground, everything looks the same, yet we have seen something no one else can imagine." Tomasz brushed leaves from his shoulders, his expression thoughtful. "We carry something heavy," he said. "Not just the story, but the responsibility. If the wrong person ever finds the gate," he stopped, shaking his head. "It cannot happen." Diego, always the practical one, adjusted his pack and looked around. "We must seal the entrance again. The gate cannot remain open. No one can know its location. Not yet. Humanity is not ready." Rahul nodded. "We have made our choice. Protecting this passage is part of that responsibility. The Mayans did the same long ago. We are the guardians now." The team moved carefully to the chamber where they had first entered the passage. The black water pool reflected their torches faintly, and the carvings glowed softly, as if bidding farewell. Rahul placed a hand on the stone wall and traced the ancient symbols. We have seen the truth, he said quietly. Now we must hide it, but never forget it. Maria knelt beside the pool. The warnings were clear. The Mayans knew that knowledge can be dangerous. They built this to protect us from ourselves, and we must honor that wisdom. Tomasz and Diego began to cover the entrance. They moved rocks, pushed vines into place, and carefully replaced the boulders that had revealed the hidden passage. Each stone they set felt like a promise, a commitment to safeguard what lay beneath. As they worked, Raoul looked back one last time at the darkness beyond the gate. He remembered the glowing world, the crystal towers, and the golden-eyed beings. He remembered the lessons they had learned about wisdom, balance, and responsibility. One day, he whispered, humans will be ready. Until then, it remains hidden, waiting for the right time. The last boulder slid into place with a low thud, sealing the passage. The cold air stopped flowing, the faint hum of the machines disappeared, and silence returned. The jungle seemed unaware of what lay beneath its roots, and the world above went on, untouched and safe. Maria stood and dusted off her hands. Her eyes shone with a mixture of sadness and hope. We have done what is right, she said. But it is hard to leave such a place behind, knowing its secrets and wonders will stay hidden for now. Raoul placed a hand on her shoulder. That is the price of wisdom. We carry it with us, and one day it will be shared when the world is ready. Until then, we live with what we know, and we honor it. Tomasz nodded slowly, staring at the forest around them. It feels strange to return to normal life after seeing something so extraordinary. I wonder if people will ever believe us if we try to tell them. Diego smiled faintly. They will not. And that is why we must not try. The truth is ours to guard, and our duty is to protect it. The team began to walk back through the jungle, their steps steady and quiet. The sunlight fell across their faces, warm and real, but each of them carried the memory of the underworld passage like a hidden fire. As they reached the edge of the forest where the villagers had first told stories of the hidden gate, Raoul paused. He looked at the familiar landscape, the mountains in the distance, the river glinting in the sunlight. The world above is unchanged, but we are different, he said. We have seen what few humans ever will. And we have chosen to protect it. Maria smiled, a soft glow in her eyes. The Mayans built this for the future. And now, we continue their work, even if no one else knows. Tomasz and Diego nodded. The jungle around them was alive with sound, bright and ordinary, yet it held the memory of what they had left behind. The passage, the crystal towers, the golden-eyed beings all were hidden again, preserved for a time when humanity could meet them without fear. Raoul took a deep breath, feeling both relief and resolve. We return changed. And that is what matters. We have seen the past, we have walked the path, and we have made the right choice. Maria looked at the sky. One day, humans may walk the stars as the Mayans dreamed. And when that day comes, the passage will open again, ready for those who are wise enough to walk it with honor. The four explorers continued on their path through the jungle, leaving behind the hidden world, carrying its secrets in their hearts. They knew that their adventure had ended, but its lessons would last forever. And as the jungle closed silently around the sealed passage, the underworld remained waiting, a hidden doorway beneath the earth, patient and eternal, until humanity was ready to find it again.